Monsieur le Président de la
President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Heads of State and Government, United Nations Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of His Excellency Mr. Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, I wish to express my warm congratulations on the quality and depth of the debates during this session and on the remarkable success that was the Summit of the Future. Our general debate is being held against a worrisome global backdrop on the security, economic and political levels, calling on our nations to make a collective leap forward. With this in mind, my country welcomes the very relevant choice of the theme for this session, which invites our states to act together to build a safer and more united world. The world stands at a crossroads. Geopolitical tensions are multiplying and fueling the escalation of several armed conflicts. Violent confrontations in sensitive regions are pushing those regions to the brink of widespread conflagration. This situation of insecurity and setbacks to peace is being worsened by terrorism afflicting regions such as the Sahel. These conflicts are gradually wiping out years of progress and development for our people. My country believes this is the right time to call on the international community to mobilize for the people of the Sahel, who are paying a high price in the war against terrorist groups. True to our values and our tradition of hospitality, Côte d'Ivoire is hosting, in the best possible conditions, several thousand nationals from neighboring Sahel countries who are fleeing the violence of armed groups. Outside the Sahel, the whole of West Africa is currently threatening to collapse. This trend could spread beyond the African continent if no effective measures are taken. For its part, Côte d'Ivoire is making available the Jacquesville International Academy for Combating Terrorism to all countries in order to help them to build their capacities in counterterrorism, in combating terrorism in all of its forms. Mr. President, the progress made by our countries in development and human security is currently being undermined by the effects of climate change. This heightens inequalities, poverty, and is leading to the forced displacement and leads to the forced displacement of millions of people every year. The relentless rise in the number of climate refugees is the tragedy of our time and tugs on our collective consciousness. In this context, Côte d'Ivoire calls on the United Nations and all of its partners to increase and to intensify their emergency humanitarian assistance for hard-hit populations. But we must go further on the climate issue and wholeheartedly implement measures that allow us to, in the short term, reverse the dangerous curve of global warming and its consequences on our societies. To that end, Côte d'Ivoire reiterates its call to developed countries to honour their pledges in climate finance and in supporting the energy transition. The Loss and Damage Fund should be rapidly filled up and used to relieve the suffering of populations in climate distress. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to facing security and climate challenges, the world is undergoing a technological revolution for which few countries are prepared. Artificial intelligence harbors great promise for our societies, but it can also pose a host of threats and is open to abuse, particularly due to the lack of international regulations governing its use. Consequently, it falls to us to ensure that this technological revolution doesn't further widen inequalities and doesn't lead to a digital downgrading of some, but rather, on the contrary, that it serves the progress and well-being for all. For this reason, my country welcomes the adoption of the Global Digital Compact. This should enable us to make better use of this technological progress for all nations. Mr. President, it's clear that no single country can enable the world to overcome the global challenges that are eroding the foundations of peace and security, as well as the social progress that has been achieved over the last few decades. In light of this, our collective action should be firmly rooted in the unique multilateral framework of the United Nations. The world truly needs a dynamic and effective United Nations that represents the diversity of peoples and has the backing of the consensus of nations that underpins its legitimacy. In this context, the United Nations that we've inherited from the 20th century must undergo far-reaching reform so that it can fully play its role in today's multipolar world. In particular, the Security Council must open up to Africa in all membership categories in order to reflect this reality. This is an essential condition for our global organization to be able to truly contribute to the lasting settlement of conflicts based on respect for international law, which remains its foundation. The same goes for the fight against climate change, which depends on the ability of our common organization to rally member states around this priority and encourage them to honor their commitments in this area. Global governance reform should also extend to multilateral financial institutions so that they can further support efforts to fund sustainable development goals in developing countries, while at the same time tackling the issue of debt. These institutions should be more inclusive in how they operate and how they take decisions. These deep-rooted transformations are inevitable and must be sped up so that these institutions truly work to assist all of our countries in combating poverty and ensuring development. Here I wish to pay tribute to the United Nations Secretary General in his brave initiatives in preventive diplomacy, peacekeeping, and peacebuilding, but also for his commitment to reforming global financial governance. Together, we have the right tools to be able to meet the challenges facing the world and to be able to enable our young people and women to flourish and to contribute more than ever before to development in our countries. Africa's future lies in its young people. We owe it to them to build competitive education and training systems, as well as democratic institutions that protect their freedoms. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, My country firmly believes in the values of multilateralism. They are indeed at the heart of our interactions with other nations. Through multilateralism, together our states can overcome great divisions, forge consensus around difficult issues, and put forward global solutions to major global challenges. This vision determines how we act and how we contribute to regional community construction, and also how we commit alongside other countries to building a peaceful, united and prosperous world for the benefit of present and future generations. Thank you.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the Vice-President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire.